After the Chiefs-Dolphins game, I was a little bit worried. I thought we were going to have a disappointing week of football, but it was the exact opposite. Have a lot of exciting things to talk about. Obviously, a lot did happen here, but starting off with that Chiefs-Dolphins game, we'll go with the Chiefs. I mean, not great, right? Pacheco only gets you 6.5 points if you started him, and Jerick McKinnon's the guy that walks through with the touchdown. Does this change anything in this situation? Nope. Isaiah Pacheco is still the running back, seeing everything. Pacheco has 41 snaps compared to Jerick McKinnon at 15. Isaiah Pacheco has 16 touches in comparison to Jerick McKinnon at 3. So yes, it's frustrating that McKinnon's the running back that comes away with the touchdown. You're still excited about Pacheco going forward. Going over to the receivers here in this offense, Rashee Rice comes away with the touchdown. Looks like Rice is going to have a monster blow-up game. But the issue with Rashee Rice is he has 2 targets in this contest. I mean, going back to what we're talking about all offseason with these Chiefs wide receivers, when you have a large pie, you are excited about it, right? We want to go through and we want to bet in on that offense where there's going to be so much production to go around. But with the Chiefs, you're taking that large pie and you're slicing it into a million little pieces where nobody's eating enough to actually get full here. I mean, Noah Gray, 3 targets. Sky Moore, 3 targets. Jerick McKinnon, 2 targets. MVS, 3 targets. Kadarius Toney gets a target. Rashee Rice, 2 targets. Justin Watson, 5 targets. Travis Kelce, 4 targets. Mecole Hardman, 3 targets. Pacheco, a target. Look, Michael P. Ryan, a target. So yeah, I mean, it's fine that it's the Chiefs offense, but when you're involving this many players, it is so difficult to go out there and consistently rely upon someone like Rashee Rice. Now, if you look at this graph from PFF, all these graphs will be from PFF, you'll see that Rashee Rice is trending in the right direction with his snaps played. Now, this is a very encouraging sign for him. And then going over to Travis Kelce, nothing to talk about. Disappointing game. I don't care about Taylor Swift. For the love of God, don't give me that stat line. It is what it is. Kelce will be better going forward. Now, going over to the Dolphins side of things, I mean, with the running backs here, you have Raheem Mostert yet again seeing about half the snaps in this offense. Raheem Mostert has 35 out of 63 snaps. Salvador Ahmed and Jeff Wilson Jr. are both players that you can go ahead and cut at this point. They're splitting the secondary role here, and obviously Devon Achane coming back soon. So, I mean, if they're a 3-man running back by committee, really the only guys that we want will be Mostert and Achane. So cut the other 2 backs. Going over to the receivers, Jalen Waddle gets injured. Jalen Waddle was open for a couple touchdowns at the end of the game. I know it's very frustrating. If you have Waddle, you're still starting him going forward. Sounds like the injury is not going to be too serious. And then Tyreek Hill is great. There's not too much to discuss here. You still play Tyreek. You still play Waddle. You still play Mostert. Just cut the backup running backs in Miami. Now, going over to what we have with the Seahawks game, this was the most frustrating thing, and I owe you an apology. I mean, every single person in the live stream this week that asked me about Kenneth Walker, I said, okay, yeah, it's a tough matchup going up against Baltimore, but you still play Kenneth Walker. Walker does nothing. Kenneth Walker gets you 16 rushing yards. And what we see back-to-back weeks now is Zach Charbonnet being involved as the receiver here. Zach Charbonnet actually plays 27 snaps in comparison to Kenneth Walker at 24. If you look at this chart from BFF, you'll see that the majority of these snaps that Zach Charbonnet is seeing is going to be in the 2-minute drill and the 3rd down situations, where you have 19 snaps in those 2 spots and all of them going to Zach Charbonnet. So if it's a game where the Seattle Seahawks are going to trail, where they're going to get down big, it'll be a Zach Charbonnet game. And Kenneth Walker is probably not someone that's just an auto start in those style contests. Now, what's also very interesting to note is Jackson Smith-Njigba was someone that I wasn't starting at all because of the tough matchup and because you had a fully healthy DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Well, JSN leads the team in receiving, ladies and gentlemen. You'll love to see it with 6 receptions, 63 receiving yards, and 7 targets. Overall, I'm not going to be panicking with the Seahawks offense. I just think that this is a great Ravens defense. And going over to Baltimore side of things, Andrews is great. Odell actually has himself a day. I'm not falling for Odell here. The main thing that I want to look at will be the running back room. And I know I already saw it on Twitter, people tweeting at us going, Mason, you told me a month ago not to pick up Keaton Mitchell, and now Keaton Mitchell scored a touchdown. Guys, don't fall for this. If you wanted to go out and pick up Keaton Mitchell off the waiver wire, you can do you. I'll talk about him in the waiver wire video tomorrow. Just make sure you are subscribed to the channel. In reality, what happened is, hell, the Baltimore Ravens had 300 rushing yards, okay? They had 298 rushing yards. It was a blowout, so the usage is going to look extremely, and I repeat, extremely skewed here. Now, like I said, we will talk about Keaton Mitchell in the waiver wire video. You can get him, But for the love of God, do not think that all of a sudden, he is the guy that you have to be starting every week. Now, going over to the Cardinals game, we're going to be super, super brief. With the Cardinals here, I guess we know if you have Clayton Tune, you can't start anybody. We are going through it saying don't start any Cardinals because they had the lowest implied team total of the week. Fewer than 13 points. It's like 12.5. The score is 0. Hell, it's Clayton Tune. It's the Cleveland Browns defense. I think we kind of saw this coming. If you're looking at Tony Jones, Keontae Ingram, they did split the backfield 50-50. Neither of them will be interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Now, going over to the Browns side of things, Deshaun Watson is back in. And hell, we get a great game from Amari, which your boy loves to see. But at the end of the day, not too much is going to be here for us to take away. It was a complete blowout. It wasn't even a football game. Maybe we can look at the running back usage and go, okay, Jerome Ford leads the backfield clearly, and Pierre Strong no longer really involved. I guess that is a real takeaway, right? Because previous to that, I thought that neither Pierre Strong, Kareem Hunt, or Jerome Ford were too appealing because I thought they would all be eating into each other's workloads. I believe we had Hunt ranked at RB24 and Jerome Ford ranked at RB23 this week. But maybe we give them a little bit more upside, given the fact that Strong's not being used. Now, going over to our next team, we will be looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where this is probably the most exciting game of the week, right? Or at least one of the most exciting games of the week, where you have Baker Mayfield going out there and what you thought leading the Bucs to a game-winning drive. Nope. Really, it all comes down to what happens in Houston. We'll talk about this Bucs team briefly. Rachaad White continues to get every single snap out of this backfield. You continue to have to start Rachaad White every single week. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin are guys that we're going to continue to start as well. I know they were a little disappointing with how high scoring this game was. But the main thing is, if you're going to go over and look at Cade Otton, Cade Otton's definitely one of those players that we're going to have to talk about in terms of picking him up off the waiver wire. He leads the team with 9 targets and obviously has multiple receiving touchdowns as well. Now let's go over and look at what we have on the Houston side of things. And this was the excitement. First off, running back, super brief. I didn't know if Devin Singletary would be exciting. I thought he was going to split the backfield with Mike Boone. And I was wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Devin Singletary was the workhorse here. Did not matter, so we kind of luck out regardless. Singletary does see 54 snaps compared to Mike Boone at 19. But yeah, it's all about the passing game here. You have CJ Stroud, 470 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns. Everybody eats in Houston. Noah Brown, 153 yards in the receiving touchdown. Dalton Schultz, 130 receiving yards and the receiving touchdown. Tank Dell, 2 receiving touchdowns. Nico Collins gets a receiving touchdown. It doesn't matter who you started in Houston. As long as you started someone at the receiver position, you were chilling. You were the happiest guy this Sunday. Now, in terms of going forward, I think Nico Collins and Tank Dell are probably must-start wide receivers. Even if they're spreading this offense around this much, if CJ Stroud can be someone that we easily project to be a top 10 quarterback in passing yards from week-to-week perspective, I think we've had the large enough sample with Dell and Collins to say that these are guys that have to be considered in the top 24. And then also with Dalton Schultz, obviously one of the more exciting tight ends that you have at this point. Now, I will say, if we are looking at the other end of the spectrum with Bryce Young, super disappointing game here. Obviously, these players will be attached to each other for literally ever. Bryce Young in this game gets you multiple pick sixes, 39 passing attempts. He has a whopping 173 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. Brutal spot. Now, with that being said, Chuba Hubbard is the full-blown starting running back. They use Miles Sanders some, but Chuba Hubbard does have 16 carries. I'd say Chuba Hubbard still probably is that guy that we're starting every single week regardless. Miles Sanders does see 5 targets. Now, going over to the other team in this game, you have the Indianapolis Colts. Not a lot of passing volume. Really, it wasn't a game, right? Bryce Young skewed everything with the multiple pick sixes. Jonathan Taylor gets there. Love to see it. Michael Pittman gets there. Love to see it. Josh Downs does get injured, which is very frustrating. But Nothing really changes. Jonathan Taylor continues to take over. Zach Moss, still someone we're not that excited about, but you still have to hold on to him just in case JT does get injured. And Moss does give you like the Tyler Algier mold, right? Where if you really, really needed to start him, you can. You're just not that excited about it. Now, as we pull up our next team here with the Bears, we will look ahead to Monday night for some of these pick'ems on Underdog. Now, you are going to have no Joshua Palmer and you are going to have no Mike Williams. So obviously we should expect that there is a considerable amount of target volume going in the direction of Keenan Allen. So I'm actually going to go Keenan Allen for more than 6.5 receptions on Underdog for Monday night. And of course, if you wanted to check out that pick'em on Underdog, you can find that link in the description in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, get you a 100% deposit match plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, a Justin Herbert special pick'em, more than less than half a passing yard. So please make sure you take advantage of that. But going over to this Bears game, D'Onta Foreman actually looks like he is the workhorse here. I mean, if you're looking at the snaps, yes, Roschon plays 20 snaps. D'Onta Foreman only has 39. But if you're looking at the touches, D'Onta Foreman, 20 carries in comparison to Roschon at 2, Darrington Evans at 1. So yeah, this looks like D'Onta Foreman is startable until we get Khalil Herbert back in. I mean, it is going to be a little bit frustrating, though, in a full BBR format. Obviously, he won't really be someone that's catching the ball out of the backfield. Not too much to discuss in Chicago. Don't bother picking up Darnell Mooney. He's just a name. It's a very bad offense. Really, the only thing we're doing is we're starting Cole Kmet, you're starting DJ Moore, and you're excited that D'Onta Foreman now looks startable. Now, going over to the Saints side of things, I owe y'all an apology. I owe myself an apology in that I continue to doubt Taysom Hill as a viable tight end. I don't know. Taysom Hill gets you another 2 touchdowns this week. Taysom Hill leads the team in rushing with 52 rushing yards. I'm going to go from ranking Taysom Hill outside the top 10 tight ends this week like a clown to now going forward, I think Taysom has to be a top 5 tight end. So yeah, I apologize for having Taysom Hill too low. Now, I will say with Alvin Kamara, the usage is trending in the wrong direction. I mean, this week he plays 31 snaps compared to Jamal Williams at 27, compared to Kadre Miller at 6. So that will be something that we want to monitor going forward. As we were previously saying, though, with Kamara, full BBR format, obviously you're excited based off his receiving volume, and that's still there with 4 receptions for 44 receiving yards in this game. Now, going over to the Vikings game, I can't tell you how hard I was rooting for this Minnesota Vikings team. F. Arthur Smith. I mean, with Arthur Smith, I'm convinced that he hates the fantasy football community so much that he is willing to go out there and give Jonnu Smith touches at the goal line over Bijan Robinson just as a middle finger to the fantasy football community. Even if he lowers his chances to win, I don't think he cares. I mean, if you're looking at the takeaways that we have here, Bijan Robinson is a running back that while, yeah, he sees 42 out of 69 snaps. Well, yeah, he has 4 targets out of the backfield and 11 carries. Of course, I'll throw up the hook 'em horns, but I can't rank Bijan Robinson as an RB1 anymore. And I know y'all are going to laugh at me and go, Mason, my man, you should have stopped doing that a long time ago. But because of Arthur Smith and this usage, I think that Bijan has to be viewed as a mid RB2 rest of season until we see otherwise. Now, Jonnu, Kyle Pitts, they continue to split this tight end room. Jonnu 6 targets, Kyle Pitts 5. Obviously, Jonnu's the guy that has the long touchdown this week. Now, going over to the Vikings side of things, this was very exciting. And that you get Joshua Dobbs with the team for like 3 days, and he ends up having to play the majority of this game. Dobbs demonstrates some rushing upside, and for this reason, I think that Joshua Dobbs could be a sneaky waiver wire pickup, right? He has the rushing upside. He has great weapons. Now, the biggest takeaway, though, in this game, Alexander Mattison will be a must-start player going forward. Cam Akers, torn Achilles. I mean, unless I'm mistaken here. Yeah, no more Cam Akers rest of season. So Alexander Mattison goes back to being a running back that's going to see every single touch, so you got to start him. Now, let's go over to the Rams, where you had Brett Rippon, and he had 130 passing yards off of 28 passing attempts. So very similar like the Clayton Tune situation. Now we just know you don't start anybody. Brett Rippon's the starting quarterback. I mean, if you're looking at the running back usage, Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson split like 50-50. Cooper Kupp, Puka, they lead the team with 7 targets. But like we were saying, I think that we can just kind of throw this game out the window just because of the horrendous quarterback play. Now, the Packers in this same game, very frustrating that yet again are we seeing more injuries for Christian Watson. Now, Christian Watson does play 56 out of 72 snaps this week, so it's not like with Christian Watson, this is something we can say was just because he was banged up that he disappoints. Looks like no wide receiver will be startable in Green Bay. It's like the Kansas City Chiefs situation, but just a significantly worse offense, right? I mean, but if you're looking at the players getting targeted, you got Luke Musgrave with 4. You have Dontavian Wicks with 4. You have Christian Watson with 2. You have Romeo Doubs with 3. Aaron Jones with 6. Jaden Reed with 3. Josiah DeGura, I know he's been there forever. Still can't pronounce his name. A.J. Dillon with 1. Malik Heath with 1. So when they're spreading the ball out this much, I mean, in the offense is this bad. The only person that's going to be startable here is Aaron Jones. They told us they were going to fully unleash Aaron Jones coming into this game. It's exactly what they did. This was the most snaps that he has played since coming back from his injury. So yeah, Aaron Jones, must-start guy going forward. Now, going over to the Washington game, ladies and gentlemen. I keep on saying, Sam Howell's not going to continue to have 45, 50 passing attempts per game. And he keeps on having 45, 50 passing attempts per game. 325 passing yards. So the wide receivers get there with both Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. Spreads the ball out a ton as well. Byron Pringle gets 4 targets. Antonio Gibson gets 5. Damie Brown gets 4. Logan Thomas gets 6. Jamison Crowder gets 6. Brian Robinson gets 2. John Bates gets 2. So I'm going to sit here and go, okay, yeah, the passing volume is going to come down in this offense. But we've been saying that, and just simply has not happened. He continues to go out there and throw the hell out of the ball. So I guess Dotson is now startable going forward. And obviously, you're always projecting Terry McLaurin out as that low-end wide receiver too. Now, going over to the Patriots side of things, did not think Demario Douglas was interesting at all, even though it was a good matchup. Go back to what we're talking about. Very bad offense. A jag, just a guy, someone we're not super excited about. And yeah, I think that's what this entire Patriots team's full of, right? The only guy you're starting is Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson gets there 6 targets and 9 carries, but he has the long rushing touchdown, which you do really like to see. I believe it was the longest rushing touchdown of his career. So nothing changes in New England. You start Ramondre Stevenson. Nobody else is good to go, at least in my mind. Now, going over to the Raiders, this was very interesting in that you have Daniel Jones' significant knee injury. We have some people speculating toward ACL. I don't know at this time. Of course, I'll be keeping y'all updated tomorrow. You have Saquon Barkley continuing to get absolutely everything. Saquon Barkley has over 100 yards, almost 20 touches in this game, but nobody else is viable. But the Raiders, on the other hand, this is where the interesting story lies. You change up the coaching staff. You change up the quarterback play. And I guess you change the culture. I mean, we talked about this coming into the week, but a lot of times that you'll go through and you'll see a team change their quarterback, change their coach. I mean, make a significant move like this during the season. That initial week afterwards, you'll kind of get a pop from the team for whatever reason. I don't know if it's that opposing defensive coordinators don't really know what to expect. They don't know what to game plan for. I don't know if the team morale is just up and they're excited to go out there and there's a little bit of hype around it. But Raiders crush, obviously, wasn't really much of a game with how bad the Giants are. But Josh Jacobs, full-blown bell cow. Josh Jacobs, 26 carries in this game, almost 100 rushing yards, multiple rushing touchdowns. Yeah, Devontae Adams leading the team in targets with 7. That's the usual story. You have Jacoby Myers, the guy scoring the touchdown. That's the usual story. So yeah, I mean, I think that you can start all 3 of those guys in Las Vegas going forward. I don't think none of that changes too much. Now let's go over to what we have in Dallas. And in Dallas, this offense continues to do well. And yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb crushes. Jake Ferguson gets there. What's frustrating for Tony Pollard owners, which I did not draft a lot of Pollard this year, but full transparency, I really like the idea of buying low on Tony Pollard 2 weeks ago, and we were looking at him averaging 16 carries a game, 5 receptions per game, thought this Dallas Cowboys offense was going to be much better. But I mean, in a game where you have 450 total yards, Tony Pollard gets you 12 carries for 51 rushing attempts and has 3 receptions for 12 receiving yards out of the back. This is a stat line when Ezekiel Elliott was there last year, And then with Lamb, starting him every single week. Jake Ferguson, probably the main story that we have in Dallas, as Ferguson is that tight end that we have to project out as that mid-tight end 1 going forward. Now with the Philadelphia Eagles, everybody gets there minus DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift has 18 carries, the workload's there. But you do have the touchdown from Kenneth Gainwell. You also get a rushing touchdown with Jalen Hurts. It's kind of what you're going to deal with in this offense. But all the receivers get there. Now, Dallas Goedert does get injured. This will be something that we have to monitor. Jalen Hurts also gets a little bit banged up here as well, but they are going into the Week 10 bye. So Jalen Hurts should hopefully be able to be fully healthy by the time we get to Week 11. He's going to play regardless. It's just at what percentage. And then in the case of Dallas Goedert, we'll know significantly more tomorrow regarding this elbow injury. It could be something that he's playing Week 11. It could be something that he's going on the IR. I don't know. But I think that's all I have for y'all, ladies and gentlemen. I'm watching the Bengals-Bills game right now, so hopefully this is a good game for us. And yeah, let me remind you, my favorite pick'em right now on Underdog would be Keenan Allen for more than 6.5 receptions. And if you want to pair that up with Justin Herbert, more than less than half a total yard, you can find that link in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and that Justin Herbert special pick'em. So make sure you take advantage. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you, and really hope I get to see you out in the live stream tomorrow night.